now is, we're at the top of the hour. We're gonna get started. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Welcome. And this is our fifth and final episode of our series on live discussions on Industrial Logic's motto: "Better software sooner." Please, if you want to participate, we want to make this as much of a rounded participatory kind of discussion as possible. So if you're live with us right now, please feel free to add comments and questions, and we will try to work them into the conversation as much as we can. We're excited that you're here, and we want to hear from you, and we want to talk to you. So we spent the first three of these sessions kind of deep diving into what we mean at Industrial Logic when we say better software sooner. It's there emblazoned in bright lights above the fold on our website, but it really is. It's also in our everyday work, and we kind of dug into how that shows up in our work, and even more importantly, how that shows up in the results that we get for our clients. In the previous conversation to this, the fourth episode, we had Cody, Wyatt, and Jessica unpacking a case study of a large client project that we delivered just last year, and how better software sooner played into that. And today we're going to be exploring another client case study, this time about our work with legal AI tech startup Skribe. And with me today to do this, we've got Industrial Logic's senior consultant, Mark Schell, my partner in crime during our work with Skribe. And also joining us is our very special guest, Skribe's own head of product, Cory Bryan. Howdy, fellas. How's Wednesday so far?
What's happening?
Good afternoon. Excited about this.
Nice. All right, well, let's get started. Cory, I'd like to start by asking you, can you tell us what Skribe's mission is, what your part in that is, and what led you to seek out Industrial Logic?
Okay, so the first step is Skribe. Why does Skribe exist? We exist to solve the deposition and legal testimony problem that a lot of litigators are seeing. The time, the cost, the complexity, the hassle of scheduling and taking depositions is something that our founder, who is a law firm owner and has had that problem for many years, set out to solve. He had that problem himself, so he wanted to build a solution for it. I came in toward the tail end of the first year to try to help grow the business, try to help grow the product, to bring in my experience as the head of product, and to apply, some of the things that I've learned over the years on how to build out a good product for Skribe, and be able to get that to the market and be able to get it to customers who really needed it. When I first joined Skribe, one of the things that I was looking at was how can we improve. So I was hired as the head of product. That's my official title. I also cover engineering, marketing, and a little bit of operation. So I have multiple hats. I look silly when I'm wearing all of them at the same time. But one of the things that I really needed was engineering help. So I looked to Industrial Logic because I knew that Industrial Logic had the chops to show what good looks like, at least good as far as my biases go. As I want to be able to do things quickly. I wanted to do them solidly, and I want to be able to do them really, really well. So I wanted to have Industrial Logic's help with showing what good looked like, showing us how to get better, and also to be able to. It's an interesting thing. I see a lot of people saying, "How do I convince so and so to work this way?" or "How do I teach?" or "How do I do these things?" My belief is you can't, but you can show them what good looks like. And you can also find people that already agree with the same things you do. And I knew that Industrial Logic, just from listening to Josh and Tim Ottinger and a bunch of other folks that I see from IL, already believe the same things. In fact, I learned a lot from IL with the webinars and books and everything else. And so I knew that that was going to be a good partner for me to come in and help show what good looked like, and then also be able to build upon that relationship.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Cory. So I guess, Mark, maybe where we want to go next is what are some things that you saw when you first joined? You joined a little bit before I did. some things that you saw, and what was already in place, and what challenges did you see, and what did you do to meet those?
Yep, great question, John. I think with any startup, there's a lot of energy in the room, and there's also a lot of ideas with any startup, and you can go any number of directions on what you want to work on. And I think one of the early things that helped to set the tone, Cory, I think this was your philosophy, or whatever, was the concept of idea to delivery in 2 days. And there's so many things that you could work on, and the team could go 20 different directions, but just having that general philosophy of idea to delivery helped to focus the team. And that resulted in the team getting very creative. And it aligned very much with the philosophy that IL likes to have, which is, delivering the theme of this, better software sooner. You do these thin slices. By saying 2 days, you're forcing thin slices. You're not forcing, but you're encouraging those unit tests so that you have that safety that you can deliver. So I think setting that tone with that statement is kind of set things off on the right foot and kind of help the team focus.
Yeah, Mark, you use the word creative in there, and I think that's so important. I think a lot of, just in general, a lot of people, especially in our industry, just have decided that they're not creative people. I'm just a code monkey, or I'm just a manager, or whatever. And that leaves out so much of that we can do differently and do better, is born out of creativity. And there's a relationship between constraints and creativity. So that constraint of, we want to deliver something, idea to delivered within 2 days. And I think it was Tim was actually talking in a previous one of these conversations about how that's in many people's minds impossible, because, well, it takes like 4 or 5 days just to code a story, right? How could we deliver something that wasn't even conceived 3 days ago?
I think one of the keys when you say it's not conceivable is it gets the team thinking, how can I slice this thinner? Where the initial thought, and Cory, or there's these great ideas come out that are these big, hey, we want to do this huge feature. And Cory, I'd love to hear your perspective on this. When you come, to the team with an idea, and then the team comes back with this small piece, and you're like, what? Things go in weird directions because of that creativity, and because we're swarming and we're doing ensembling. I'm always surprised at how the team can, given those constraints, split things down smaller and deliver something as small as possible that still delivers some value to the user.
Yeah, the idea behind all of that, in my experience, has been, there's a concept, I forgot who said it. It might have been Kent Beck or something, but make it work, make it right, make it better. So that's the kind of philosophy that I want to see, which is, or the kind of system that I'm trying to set up, which is, what's the smallest possible thing that could work, get it working, even if it's, not everybody would go, oh, wow, that's amazing. You're not going to make amazing in 2 days. Let me be totally clear. You're not going to go from 0 to totally amazing in 2 days. What you can do is go from 0 to, hey, this is something that exists in the world, and we can see it. And then the next day we can work on making it better and making it better, and adding this little piece and doing this little thing. We had a good example of that this week, Mark, where we were doing some pieces where we just had a thing that, pressed a button and it said, I'm here. And that was enough, right? That was enough to go from, we have nothing to now we have something, because all the integrations and all the building of the systems that you have to do, and all the things to get a build out the door and test and all the other pieces to get it to that point where you can be there. That's the hard work, right? That's all the systems have to be set up so that you can build something in that 2-day window. And I'd love it to be shorter than 2 days. Let me make it clear, but I don't want it to be something where it takes a week or a sprint or 2 weeks or a quarter or something else to get something out the door. So those systems in place and having something, and that's what IL has really helped with, is the thinking model around, how can I make a small piece of this deliverable today? And how can I have a system that's set up to where that delivery is possible for whatever we want to come up with.
I think that sets things up for faster feedback. We talk about all the time, you know, in our industry, especially for startups. Who are your clients? Who are the people that want to pay for this? How do we get feedback from them? Well, you get feedback from users when they use the system. They can't use the system until you have something that's in the system to be used. So like, get it to them quicker. I also love the concept. We have been playing around with the painted doors of building almost like a survey into the system. You build, I don't know if anyone has heard of a painted door before or not, but you put a little button in the system to say, are you interested in XYZ feature? And the user clicks on it, and then you track that, and hey, they're your beta users when you go to actually implement it. Or if no one clicks the button, we saved the company money. You don't implement it if no one's interested.
Yeah, that concept around feedback and getting early feedback and repeated feedback is something that's crucial for my product brain and my kind of agility brain. Is I want to understand what people are interested in and what they do with the current product, not what they would do with a future product. I'm more interested in actions that they're able to take today than their beliefs on what they would do in the future, because that's aspirational. And that is kind of telling me what I want to hear or what they would like to do versus, God, I got 12 things to do today. I just need to get this done. How can I get it done? What's the easiest way for me to get it done? So the doing versus the words part of that is why I'm so interested in getting the feedback of, oh, you actually clicked the button. You actually tried that feature. You actually did that action. Tell me what you thought of that, or tell me what you were trying to do next. Because then I can say, oh, well, that might be the next iteration, or that might be the next little thing that we add. It's a tweak to that to make it more, make it better for you.
Cory, you said the A word, and I'm gonna
which one did I say?
I'm gonna, much like a lawyer, I'm gonna say you've opened that door, so I'm gonna walk through it. So first thing I want to note is that one of the first things I noticed about working at Skribe is that nobody really said the word agile. It was just already, we were doing it, so there wasn't a whole lot of talking about it, and that's relatively unusual in my experience recently as a lean agile coach, and practitioner. But maybe more interestingly, what I think defines that kind of approach and what you were describing with getting fast feedback and getting information, especially if it means you don't have to spend company money building something, is that the whole reason we work like this, that we want to build software in this way that a lot of people find crazy and anathema to what they were taught, is that we don't know what the value of our work is until it's done and in use, until it's in people's hands. And that's like, if we don't agree on that, then I'm going to do a lot of weird things like make a painted door, and you're going to be like over there in the, in Jira going, well, how do I write a story for a painted door? And like, how do I plan that into the product increment?
Right. Yeah. And I know it's a popular argument, and it's interesting. The last year and a half that I've been doing this and working this way, I haven't had that discussion with people. I mean, I've kind of talked about it as an approach, but I don't go through, like, we don't do sprints. We don't do, I can't tell you how happy I am that for a year and a half, I have not looked or logged in or used Jira at all. It warms my little product nerd heart that I don't have to do squat with Jira. We just use Miro. We just put everything on a board, and that's how we kind of view the work and how it flows. So we are the definition, the personification of being agile instead of doing agile. Where, what's the quote? Agile now means we do half of Scrum and use Jira. That's
half of Scrum badly.
Half of Scrum badly. Yeah. So we don't have that problem because IL was able to come in, show what good looked like, just enact the behavior that you want to see, work that way. We've set up the system, at least I've tried to set up the system to where that is just how we do things. It's not a discussion. It's not an argument. It's just, this is the way we work, and this is how we're going to do things.
Yeah. Yeah. So you reminded me of one of the things that we did that I've since kind of I've picked up and taken elsewhere with me in my travels. But one of the reasons a lot of organizations embrace Jira or tools like it is that it makes it easy for people who aren't near the work to understand where the work is, where the work is at, and where the progress is. Mark, what did we do to radiate information about progress?
Yeah, I think
And
we.
can you tell me like how we got there?
I wouldn't say that we've spent a lot of energy, but we did spend time on the team, even kind of perfecting the ways that we were going to communicate. And in that list is, one of the, I don't like to talk about specific tools, but we are using Gather, or there's a number of other tools out there to create a very inclusive, collaborative environment. It's this environment where you can walk into any space and have a conversation with anyone, just like a regular work environment. And so, hey, there's one ensemble sitting in this area working on this section of code or this feature, and maybe you split up the work, which we'll do from time to time, and the second ensemble's working on the other half of it, and people can walk back and forth and join and follow their energy. So I think it creates this great energy amongst the team as well to give that freedom. So one is that creating that gather environment. Two is sharing the information radiators we talk about, and Miro or Mural, whatever tool you want to use for your discovery tree. Anybody in the company can look at that board and see what's currently being worked on. So we communicate it that way. And then thirdly, we're creating videos at minimum one video a day, if not more, so of the work that we've done. And it's not talking about what we did, it's showing what we did. So as something's being committed and making its way automatically into production, one person from the ensemble can pull off, step into like a small area and gather and record a video quickly and send that out to the company. And it not only is a communication to everyone else, it's a demo of what's being done. And it's almost like it's built-in documentation of how the system works.
I just want to pause for a second and address our live audience. If you have questions or comments, please feel free to add them here, and we'll incorporate that into the conversation as we go. And especially if we say something that you want to hear more about, or use a word like ensemble that you're not sure what we mean by that. So when you're talking about making a demo video, Mark, did we have to did we break away from the group and open up Camtasia and do a whole bunch of editing and get into video production?
That was my experience before on other programs where it felt like a huge production.
Yeah.
And because you put so much weight on it, you felt like it had to be perfect. You do 10 takes and it was a challenge. And it was kind of painful. This was actually fun, and I started to enjoy really doing them, because it literally is, just going into Slack and use their embedded video function and just start recording. And Cory, I don't know, I'm sure I make you laugh or maybe frustrated with some of the videos, but it literally is my thoughts. And sometimes it fumbles. Sometimes we discover a bug, as you're recording the video, and we just send it out. Instead of spending a ton of time, it's just, let's just get this out there. It is what it is. The product is what it is. And if we discover something or something happens unexpectedly, you still record it. And that's the first thing we're going to be working on tomorrow or next.
Yeah. And that's one of the most impactful things that I think we've done is, so we're a remote company. We're spread out all over the place. We use Slack and some other tools to kind of collaborate real time and kind of offline as well. That video, that kind of every other day, sure. I mean, it's 1 to 2 minutes, and it's just about what works today. It's about what software have we built and show it working today. Now, not everybody may be able to access it because it might be behind a feature flag or something else, but you can see the progress, the meaningful progress, the real progress that had been made, instead of just, hey, we're 25% done with this story card or something like that. That's meaningless progress to me. That's not real. That's anticipate this might be done at some time in the future versus this is what was finished and done today that somebody could use.
And I think knowing that video is something that is very helpful to the rest of the organization was another kind of encouragement to do thinner slices as well. Because there is an expectation that there's going to be video there. So you better do something that is visible to the user. And it makes you think about those thin slices.
And our founder, who is busy with his law firm, you know, all day, and our CEO, who's busy trying to, you know, go out and talk to investors and do all the business things and that they need to do. They can't always attend what would normally be a sprint demo at the end of every 2 weeks for an hour or something like that. So these are bite-sized little pieces that when they're waiting on a meeting or something else, they can see, get an update, ask questions, and then we go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it really embodies the sooner part is, you know, because the thing that this took the place of, you know, if you want to refer to common practices, Scrum, this was like a sprint review demo, sort of, but in the tiniest possible slices, and also asynchronously. We didn't have another meeting on the calendar, which was, you know, not only great for us, those of us, you know, who would have to be in that meeting, but also the people who, you know, with law firms who, you know, might not be able to work in a meeting like that in order to provide valuable feedback. And, you know, one of the things that I remember was, you know, occasionally we would have 3 or 4 things, or, you know, more than one thing in an afternoon to make a video about. And we consciously would make separate videos for each thing, because each video would then have its own comment trail of possible feedback about it. And we wanted to keep those discussions focused.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's also a natural replacement of a status meeting, which I don't think any of us like to sit in, you know, and it's a natural information radiator for people to see what's going on. And I think there's oftentimes a disconnect between the technology folks and the business folks, where a piece of work might seem really simple, or really simple to implement, but technically it's hard. And you can talk about what made that technically hard in the video to help give perspective. And I think the business side of an organization, if they can better understand those challenges, it helps them make better decisions in the future and appreciate why it's taking so long, compared to, hey, where have the developers been for the past 10 days? I haven't heard anything from them. What, they must be just sitting around doing nothing. And it's like, no, you can see the progression and why something is taking longer than expected. And I think it decreases some of that friction that you can sometimes have in an organization.
Well, and that also, that makes me think about safety and psychological safety. Not, you know, usually you think about psychological safety like, are the bosses being nice to the workers? But like, this was psychological safety for the people who are paying us to build software. Software is expensive. And if they don't know, you know, where the ball is at any given point, that's an unsafe feeling. That's a fear, for sure. So let's see. We also wanted to talk about you know, kind of the culture of you know, the things we did technically, favoring collaboration over communication. Mark, you want to say a little bit about that?
I think part of it is the use of Gather and allowing people to jump from ensemble to ensemble. That type of tool allows you to also ping people. Like, Cory's involved in a lot of other meetings with marketing and all kinds of stuff. And a lot of times as we're implementing something, we're like, what should this look like? Or what are you thinking along these lines? Or the designer might be off working on the external website, and we need that person's perspective for working on a UI. And we'll ping them. They might not come over right away. Maybe they're busy doing something else. But to have people to be able to jump in and out of a room and join and add that perspective, so that we don't have to wait 2 days to get the answer. We waited 10 minutes or 5 minutes for them to show up. And it just speeds up the delivery cycle, because you're eliminating those handoffs between people.
Yeah, I can't stand handoffs and delays. It's a bugaboo of mine whenever I'm in work, in product development, or I'm standing in line getting my food at a restaurant. I can't stand seeing something not moving when there's space for it to move. I'm like, why aren't you optimizing that to move there as soon as you can do the lean flow thing? And have you not read 2-second lean? What is your problem? So yeah, that notion of I've done my part of the work. Now I need to hand it off to somebody else, and it's their fault that that work's not done yet, or I'm waiting on X to do Y. I don't want to have that conversation. I want there to be a team that moves like, the traditional ideal Scrum team would, of we're working on this together and we got it done together. And I learned a little bit and you helped contribute and we all did this thing together and it's now done. And when I did our part, you could do your part and we worked together on that instead of the handoff cycle that slows everything down whenever you have one of those. But really when you have 4 to 5 handoffs, because now this person has to do this and this person has to do that, and that person is backed up because they're single threaded or they're the single point of failure on our test cycle. So I've seen it before where 10 15 developers were pushing code and there's one tester or something like that, and that tester can't possibly do all that work, but the developers say it's not my problem, I did my job. And that's not good. And that's another reason why I went to IL, because I knew that you guys already believed that same thing that I believed and you weren't going to let that happen.
Yeah.
I think the other piece of that, which we've been kind of talking around, is the concept of ensembling, and that we're doing this not as whatever X number of individuals working, we're doing it as a group. Cory talked about the Scrum moving forward. Well, I'm surprised every day when I come into work, and in my mind, my brain was thinking about it overnight, and I'm like, oh, we're going to implement this feature this way. Well, I show up in a room with 3 other people, and the combination of our brains, we end up going in a completely different direction that ends up being way better than I thought. And they'll say the same thing of like, oh, well, I'm glad you brought that perspective. We got to the right place. And I think it's creating that environment of that collaboration every minute of every day, instead of, hey, I wrote this code and I'm going to have someone else review it. We're going to review it and do it right now. And at the end of the day, it's like, wow, look what we created.
Yeah.
And then switching from me to we is a huge indicator to me as well.
It's what makes a team an actual team, not just a collection of people, sort of vaguely working on the same thing, is when you're in real-time interaction with that. And I think there's also so many other problems that it solves with working with other people on software. A lot of people don't realize when they're not used to working in an ensemble or a mob, that that a lot of the other things that we do to solve problems go away. Things that we think are necessary, like meetings, like pull requests, like just the various mechanisms that we have in order to coordinate work from people who aren't looking at each other in the eye.
We also very rarely have to circle back and fix bugs.
Yeah.
Because those bugs are detected and found in the ensemble, because you have those other perspectives. Someone says, hey, what about this scenario? And then we test that out now before we actually deliver it to production. So I think in general, I don't have exact numbers on it, but like in general, we're seeing fewer bugs make it to production, and we can fix them faster because we put, we might have a discussion in the morning saying, hey, this was identified. That's the first thing the team works on, and we knock it out together as a group.
Yeah, I think in the typical in the year that we've been having our product in the market, a little bit over a year now, I think I can remember 2 production defects that jumped up and bit us and we didn't anticipate. So 2 in about a year. And I think we had both of those fixed within 4 hours of them being identified, because we had the system in place and and we were still working in that area. So it wasn't like something that was off that we'd done 6 months ago and we forgot about. It was something we were working on today that got through. And as soon as it got through, because we had the code there, we could just fix it really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. And this, coincidentally, we have a question in the comments about what typical defect counts are what the counts typically are. And to your point, they're low. Like, and to me, it's a kind of an extension of working on one thing at a time and having a very low work in progress limit, is that you also, like, as soon as there's a bug, it's like, hey, well, that's the priority. Let's fix the bug.
Yeah.
So that they don't tend to rack up, and you don't need a whole system of prioritization to manage them.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I believe we're about at time. So I want to thank everybody in our audience for joining. And if you want to go back and view the other videos in the series, please go to our website, industriallogic.com. You should be able to find that under the content menu. And also, especially thanks to Mark and Cory for joining me for this half hour. And you guys have an awesome day.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Yep. Any questions, please continue to post on them on LinkedIn, and we'll be happy to respond.
Yeah, we'll be watching asynchronously, sort of like the continuous demo videos.